Hi there. Hi there. I'm Natasha. This is my channel, Always Be Crafting, and I am starting my introduction on a Friday, even though this video will be on Saturdays I sew. But it is currently Friday, and I'm currently driving a car. Here's what's going on. I just want to, be as upfront as humanly possible about what's going on. I look like chaos already. I'm already in my pajama sweatshirt because I had a crazy morning of work followed by shots. It was vaccination time. I got my flu shot, I got my COVID shot, and I got my shingles shot. So I'm not feeling the best already, and it's only been 3 hours since I received all my vaccinations. But I have heard that the shingles shot is like the worst of the shots. So before I completely fall apart, which I'm hoping I won't completely fall apart, but before I completely fall apart, I thought, let me get a head start on things. Tomorrow morning, on the actual Saturday, which hopefully the rest of this video, or maybe not the rest, but the majority of this video will hopefully be shot tomorrow on Saturday, because on Saturdays I sew. I want to work on my son's Halloween costume. So what I'm doing right now is I'm driving because I have currently set up at my mother-in-law's apartment. I've currently taken over her dining room table as a giant cutting table. Now, I wish that I had more space in my home to have a large cutting table set up at all times, ready to work on, but that's just not how it is. I have a section of a tabletop that I can cut on. It's not easy because of all the under table drawers and just the general setup of my area. It's not easy to do large cutting at. I hope someday to make that a reality, but as it is right now, that is not my reality. Right now, I can cut anything in like a 24 by 36 range, or just a little smaller than that. So it's excellent for quilt block pieces. It's excellent for bag pieces. It's not so excellent for garment cutting. So I have set up at my mother-in-law's. Her entire dining room table has 3 cutting mats. Three 24 by 36 cutting mats, all side by side by side, of covering her entire table. So I have over 6 feet by 3 feet of space to cut for garment cutting, and it's working perfectly. I've already cut out one shirt and was able to bring it home, sew it up very quickly because I had the space. But I'm working on my son's Halloween costume, I said. So he wants to be a character called Luffy. It is from a anime cartoon / comic series called One something. I'll figure it out. I'll put it on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head where Luffy is from. But it's a very straightforward costume in the sense that it's a hat, it's ripped up jeans, a red vest, and sandals. I'm still trying to source the sandals because I don't want to make sandals. I already found the hat. We actually bought him a licensed straw hat, like at GameStop, which to me is crazy. I'm like, can't we just buy you a cheap straw hat? None of them looked right. He wanted the real straw hat. Fine, it's his Halloween costume. And it brings joy to his life, so that brings joy to my life. I found a pair of jeans at Goodwill, and we cut them off at the knees, and we're shredding the bottoms to get them as shreddy as possible. And I'm making him a red vest because I have been unable to find a red vest. The ones that are costume pieces online are so cheap looking, like they're polyester, really thin fabric, cheap. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend that much money on something that cheap, because of course when you buy a Halloween costume they charge $1 million. It's ridiculous. And looking for a red vest in like Goodwill or secondhand stores, I've been unable to find one. I've thought about borrowing one from the theater, but he wants something of his that he can keep, so that rules out borrowing. So I'm like, I will make you one. I I'll make you a red vest. All I have for fabric is red quilting cotton, which is lighter weight than a vest normally would be, so I'm probably going to have to line it. So right now, I am, like I said, driving to my mother-in-law's, and I will show you the pattern that I'm going to be cutting out once I get there. My mother-in-law is out of town until Thanksgiving, so I'm taking advantage of having this big empty space to be able to set up my cutting table for, I can set it up, I can go for an hour or two and then leave without having to take the time of cleaning everything up. Because if I did it at home on my own dining table, then I'd be cleaning it up every hour or something, because there'd be a meal or there'd be something else going on. Other people in my home that I need to share my dining room table with. So I can set it up at her house. I will see you when I get there, and I will show you the pattern, where I found the pattern, and how I am going to cut it out. And hopefully we will get it cut out of the red fabric today. So tomorrow, for Saturdays I Sew, or the rest of this video for Saturdays I Sew, will be the sewing. Fingers crossed, I will see you at my mother-in-law's. Bye. Okay, so we are at my mother-in-law's. See my table with all the things set up. So here I have a magazine. It is Burda Style. What issue is it? August of 2025. There it is. All right, so Burda Style, 191 patterns. I opened up to all the patterns. It includes, here are sewing and info tips, and they had a men's fashion vest. So I brought it home, and I thought, okay, you know what? For $9.99, is that how much it was? Yeah. Oh, it was £9.99. So dollars USA $14.99. Okay, so I'm in the USA, so I paid $14.99. I thought, for all these patterns, a lot of them look interesting, things I can play with, and the vest might be the right one. Took it, showed it to my son. He agreed, yes, that's exactly what I like. He likes this one where the buttons don't go all the way up to the neck. That's the one he wants. So that is the pattern 120. And these are the sizes. I know nothing about that, UK sizes, but I'm just gonna use the biggest because the vest should be oversized. And it's page 55 on my cutting directions. So, here it is. It's not actually page 55, it's like page 24. I don't even know why they said 55. Anyways, men's waistcoat, styles 119 and 120. And according to this, I need to get all my patterns. Here it is. The green pattern line on sheet A. So if you have done, and I'm going to go for the biggest, 56. Might be too big, but I'd rather take it in. Yeah, I'd rather take it in. It's better to be big. So I'm going to use the solid line of the green. And these are all the pattern pieces I'm going to be cutting out. Now, if you've gotten a Burda pattern before, this is what it looks like. And there's two of these. So this was A and C, I think. Yeah, A and C. And then over there, I have the one that's B and D. So I've already cut A apart. So here I'm looking for the green lines. See, these are what I need. So I need to trace all my green lines. And to do that, I am going to use tracing paper. So I'm going to take all of this out, unroll it, and open it up. So it's just one layer. And I'm going to trace around the green lines with my handy dandy red pencil. Now this is a tip I picked up from, oh gosh, what's her name? I think her channel is So Lounge. I think that's right. I'll link her underneath. I had been tracing with regular pencil forever. And she said, you know what, if you use the Ticonderoga, which I'm a huge fan of Ticonderoga, the red is just as erasable as your regular pencil, and red shows up better on your tracing paper. And I tried it, I liked it, I kept it. Pardon the noise outside. I'm not going to be recording anything else because I did not bring a tripod. But just so you know, this is what I'm going to do. Trace out my pieces, cut them out, because I need all of these pieces for the vest. And then I'm going to lay them out on my red fabric. Where's my red? Hold on. Sorry about that. All right, here's my red fabric. It is just a really high quality quilting cotton that I had inherited from my mom. It's thin, as you see, has a nice drape. It is, feels like a cotton lawn. That's what it feels like, which is far more drapey than you usually use for a vest. But that's what I had in my house, in my stash of solid red. So that's what I'm going to use. And I think my mom would be tickled pink to know that fabric she had left behind would get to be used in her son's Halloween costume, her grandson's Halloween costume. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this following all these instructions, the pattern pieces I need. They talk about your layouts based on, how wide your fabric is. And then it goes into construction after that. So I'm just going to follow the directions here in the Burda magazine. And you see there's a lot of instructions because there's pockets. There's going to be a button band. I'm going to need some interfacing. So I got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of work to do to get all this. This is the shirt down here. So these are all the instructions for the vest. Okay, I will cut things out and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Good morning. I know I look very silly wearing a witch's hat, but it is October 11th. It is prime Halloween season in my mind, and I'm still feeling the effects of the vaccine I took last night. But welcome back to my craft room, to my basement chaos, and it has been a bit chaotic. So before I can do any sewing this morning, I do have to do a bit of cleaning, which I will not record because maybe some people like to watch cleaning. I just don't want you to watch me clean, but I did want to show off a couple of Halloween things I made. I made this cute hat. It was from a pattern from So Hungry Hippie, and it has the Pellon Flex Foam. I had to think for a second because I didn't end up using, I love Soft and Stable, but I think because I love Soft and Stable so much, I save it for my bags. And since this is just a fun thing, I use the Pellon Flex Foam. I'm not actually sure if it's cheaper. I feel like I get a better price on the Pellon Flex Foam because I buy it from Wawak, WAWAK.com. And I feel like I just get a better price on everything there. So it's not a cheaper product, it's just a different product. Soft and Stable is much more soft than the Flex Foam. That being said, I thought, well, I don't really need it to be soft and floppy. I need a witch's hat. So I'll use the Flex Foam. And I'm really pleased. I actually used double-sided fusible Flex Foam in this case because I wanted my fabrics on both sides to stay in place while quilting. And I wish I'd chosen a different quilting pattern for the top of the hat, but I just went around in circles, like spiral circles on the brim. And I only bound the edge and where the two came together. I did not bind the inside because who's gonna look at it? I don't need it to be reversible. So who cares, right? What else? Oh, I have another Halloween goodie. Hold on, let me grab that. Okay, so when I had been shop hopping in September, I came upon this store that didn't really have a lot of fabric that I was interested in. It was September 30th. It was the last day of September. But they had two cute quilt kits. Like one was a quilt kit and one was a pillow kit, all in Halloween fabric. And I fell in love with the panel from the quilt kit. And she didn't have that panel just in regular yardage. So I bought the whole quilt kit so I could get it. But I made that panel into a bag because look how cute she is. I used soft vinyl on the bottom so you can put it down anywhere. This is the bag. So it's the whole panel so you can see the repeat. Here's the robot man and here's the robot man. But it's the whole panel otherwise. And I think it came out really, really sweet. I love this little mouse on the edge. When I was looking at cutting the panel in half, I would be cutting right through that little astronaut mouse. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. It's too cute. And I used the same So Hungry Hippie soft vinyl on the inside. It's a loose lining. It's not like a buy any bag where everything's quilted together. So I did it pretty traditionally as far as a tote bag goes otherwise, with, boxed bottoms and otherwise. And this fabric was the top of the panel. I cut it down to be shorter. And then this fabric was the only fabric. There had been a number of 5 inches by width of fabric included in that quilt kit. And this was the only other Halloween print in the kit that was actually from this line. So the pumpkins matched exactly. And not that you have to care about that sort of thing, but I thought, well, why not? The pumpkins match. It's all the same fabric line. It's adorable. So that's what I made. And it's a And I use the flex foam again, but this time the non-sticky, the non-fusible flex foam in this bag and in the handles. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Not because I need a Halloween bag, but don't I? I mean, why not? And since we're talking about Halloween, I'm going to be working on my son's Halloween costume. And so let's grab, sorry, right behind you. I know I'm going to take the hat off because the lighting is not great, but I love the hat. And if you saw my hair, you'd be like, yeah, keep the hat on. It's nice. Okay, so here's the magazine I showed you yesterday, Burda Style issue from August 2025. And I cut out everything except the 2 lining pieces because I'm on the fence about using the same red fabric for the lining. So it took me 2 hours from the time I stopped recording. No, less than 2 hours. It took about 1 hour and 40 minutes, I guess, to lay out all the tracing paper and trace off each pattern piece and then cut them out and then, you know, cut out the red fabric. So I did that yesterday. I think the thing that took the longest was actually just finding the pattern pieces, because if you remember from yesterday, all of the patterns are on top of each other. So you're looking for a green line, and sometimes the green lines cross each other. So you have to like really pay close attention when you are cutting out your pieces, especially the big ones, because they might be overlapping with another big piece. Well, definitely overlapping with another big piece of different colors, but it might even be overlapping with another big piece of the same color. But I do have extra red fabric, so if I choose to use the red as the lining, I can cut those other pieces out. I think everything needs a good ironing because it's just kind of, it was rolled up and put in the magazine to come home. So I'm going to iron things out, iron on my fusible interfacing on the couple of pieces that require interfacing. I think I just showed you one. Yeah, this one. This is the shape for the front, what's it called? The front facing. And you can see, so it's just the facing, so where the buttons are going to be, but it also needs to be interfaced. So yeah, I need to do that. So I'm going to interface the pieces that need to be interfaced. I'm going to iron everything out, and then I'm going to decide on what my lining fabric will be, because I need a front lining and a pocket lining. The back doesn't have a lining, which I think is weird. Like, I was going through it and I was like, why is the back not lined? But it isn't. So half of me, even though I cut all the pieces correctly, I'm looking and I read through the directions, the back is just its own fabric. I think because you're supposed to use a heavier weight fabric, they don't have additional fabric in the back. But I'm not using a heavier weight fabric. I'm using a very lightweight fabric. So I'm wondering if I should double up or just go ahead and line the back piece, even though it wasn't asked for in the directions. So I'm debating that. No idea what fabric I'm lining it with. I was going to look for another red-ish color, but then if it's just the lining, maybe I could do something more fun, like some Halloween fabric. Because again, I have all that Halloween fabric from the quilt kit that I bought. No, I'm pointing at this for the bag. The quilt kit that came with the bag. Like, the entire backing is this really cute. Let me grab it. This is the backing from that quilt kit. So I have a very large piece of this fabric, and I'm not making the quilt. Oh, it was cut in two, I guess. I think some of the fabric is on the front of the quilt, and then the rest goes on the back. So this is, let's see, Riley Blake Designs Beggar's Night by Sandy Gervais is this pattern. And it's kind of cute, you know, and it's kind of neutral, being all grays, you know, with little pops of orange and purple. It's not too much in your face. So that could be a really cute lining on the inside of this vest. And I don't think it's going to matter because you're not going to really see it because he wears it buttoned up. So I'm going to look around my area and see if I see something better. Otherwise, I think I might just line it with this for durability, because this is like a heavier cotton. Even though they're all quilt weight, the red one was very light, like almost, I think it might have been like a cotton lawn. Like, it was very lightweight. So having like a traditional quilting cotton weight to kind of stabilize it, I guess, might be a good idea. That's what I'm thinking. So I have to clean up. Sorry, I'm so tired and moving so slow. I have to clean up my space so I can iron, so I can interface, and probably cut the lining out of this. Probably. I'm going to look around and make sure there's not something else that is a better fit, because it's all chaos and confusion in here. I've got shop hop fabric still out and about that hasn't been put away. I have a mini quilt project right behind you that needs to be cut up and starting to piece. I have my bag. I have my Crafted with Love project that has been started and is sitting to the side. So I've got a couple things I can't even really show you because the people from my Crafted with Love or the people from my mini quilt surprise might be watching. And so I can't show off those things because I don't want the surprise to be ruined for them. So yeah, I got to do a lot of cleaning before I can do a lot of sewing. Thank you for watching. I hope you stick around and see what I do with the vest. Bye. And I'm back because I made a decision. So you see this spider web that's on the inside of my hat? It is actually a canvas, so it's heavier weight, more durable. I think I'm gonna use this as my lining. I know it's not traditional to line your fabric or your lining to be heavier than your outer fabric, but the outer fabric needs to be red, and I didn't have another solid red. Everything I own has pattern, like really. And the only other solid red I had was sparkly, like Christmas sparkly. And I knew that he was not going to go for sparkly. So I'm going to use the heavier weight canvas interfacing, and I'm going to cut it exactly the same size as the back. So the back is just going to be it's going to be, I'm going to treat it as one piece of fabric because I'm going to go around all the edges of the back to make it this. And probably going to have to use my serger for the inside seam because the inside seam shows and I don't have like a second lining piece. So since I want to treat it as one piece of fabric, I'm just going to serge that center edge. So when it's opened in the back and you see the opening in the back, and I think they do that so it's like you can take it in and out, like size wise, you can resize. I don't know why they do that. That's just the way the pattern is. That's the way the pattern's written. But yeah, it wasn't a cut on the fold for the back, which I thought, why wouldn't it be cut on the fold? But it wasn't. It is a center seam down the back of the vest. So that's the way I got to do it. I got to treat it like a center seam. And yeah, and just kind of go from there. Otherwise, I will use it as, cut it out of the lining pieces for the front and for the pockets. Maybe I don't need it for the pockets. Maybe I'll just use more red for the pockets because that's going to be really heavy for the pockets. All right, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to use more red to cut out for the pocket lining. And I'm going to use the canvas spider webs as the front lining, and I'm going to attach to the back as if it's like a solid piece of fabric. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm doing. So now I'm going to iron, and yeah, you can watch me iron and then cut out the spider web and then hopefully start sewing. Hopefully this works. Hopefully I haven't forgotten something and I'm missing a huge step. Fingers crossed for me, people. Fingers crossed. We will see how this turns out in the end. Bye again. Again, no hat. So I'm not sure if I should continue because the red is so thin that even though it's against the back of the spider web, you can still see the spider web through it. The easiest thing to do would be to undo this stitching, not this one, but this one. So leave the serger stitching alone and then fold it open, interface it, probably interface the red, and then fold it back down and sew it again. Part of me wants to wait. I like the weight of it together, the two pieces together as far as the weight goes, because I think that matches better what the pattern was intended for. I think the pattern was intended for like heavier wools and velvets. But maybe I need to wait for my son to wake up because it is 10 a.m. on a Saturday, but he was up late last night, you know, talking to his friends and playing video games online together. And he's probably going to wake up soon, but I'm probably not going to see him till probably noon-ish. So I don't know if I should just keep going or if I should be interfacing, because like here's the front. Okay, you see how thin it is. So I told you it's like this very drapey, almost like a lawn type cotton. So once that has its facing and its lining, it's going to be similar to this. So do I maybe just interface just the front, and maybe he's not going to care if there's spider webs visible on the back, but because let me look here. Let's take a piece that's already been interfaced, like the facing, for example. So here's the facing, which I interfaced with the non-woven. Okay. And if I put it, so this is actually going to be right on top. Yeah, you can still see it, but that's okay because that's on the inside. Now, if it were what I want to do to the back, can you see it? You can still kind of see it. So nothing's going to get rid of the spider web completely, or interfacing won't get rid of the spider web, or lightweight fusible non-woven won't get rid of the spider web. I could use a heavier, like a SF101, which is a woven interfacing. I guess I'm just trying to, not be super cheap, but it's just a costume piece. So I don't want to put that much effort into it either. I'm like torn between these two places. My only investment was the magazine, which the magazine's good for other reasons. And that was $15. I already had the red fabric. I already had the interfacing. I already had the spiderweb fabric in my stash. So there has been no investment. But if I use up more interfacing, then I'm just cutting into future projects because that means rebuying. You know what? I think I'm just going to do it. I'm going to interface the front with the non-woven cheap interfacing, because I'll be sad if I use up my precious SF101 on this. And I say precious because I don't have a fabric store that sells it, so it has to be ordered online. And then when it comes, you pay shipping in addition, where the non-woven interfacing is the cheap stuff that I can get at the Dollar Tree. So yeah, I was using scraps before, but I could open up a package of $1.25 interfacing to interface these. I'll have to redo the lines I drew in for the darts, but only because that was friction heat erasable pens that I used, so those will go away, but I can redraw those. That's not a big deal. Thanks for listening to me think this through, but I think that makes the most sense. If you're watching this, what would you have done? Would you have interfaced? Would you have skipped it and said, it's just a Halloween costume, who cares? Or would you have gone out and bought more expensive fabric that was the right weight from the start? Because again, I'm trying to do this on the cheap. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I'll be back. Watch me interface, I guess. Bye. I'm back. All right, so we are stopping the Halloween costume for today. My son came down. He did not like being able to see the spider web, but when he tried it on, I only made half of it. I did kind of a quick and dirty half. Sorry, I'm knocking you. I treated the lining like facing, so that's why it's tucked in right there. Anyways, I had him try on half of it, and it's actually the right size. Like, it does not need to be bigger, but it does need to be longer. He's not happy with how short it is because it hits him right at his waist. And I guess the costume that the character wears, it's an oversized vest that hits him lower. So I'm going to go fabric shopping because that's the mom I am. So I'm going to get a heavier weight since I have to cut it out anyways. And I don't think I have enough of this red to recut the pieces longer. I'm just going to go ahead, and I treated this as our toile, you know, and I'll repurpose the other red fabric. I'm going to keep the fabric for the pocket because it makes actually the perfect pocket fabric. Otherwise, I think I'm going to repurpose the rest of this red, reharvest it, if you will, for a different project. Maybe it'll become lining in a bag. Multiple little small bags might have red lining now. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm going to go fabric shopping. Not right now this minute because this is what I look like. But he has requested velvet. And I'm that mom. But it's only October 11th, so I have 20 days before Halloween. I can do it. So we don't have a completed Halloween vest today, but we do have a nice toile. And I have zero regrets about making a nice fitting toile because now I know the pattern is pretty good. I think I'm going to add on, when I recut it, I am going to add on not just the extra 2 inches at the bottom to make it longer. I think I'm also going to add on seam allowance because using the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance just on this made it fit him exactly. So if I add on seam allowance when I recut the pieces, it'll be just that much bigger and just that much more comfortable, I hope. But that's it for today. I'm going to continue sewing this morning because it's still Saturday, but I'm going to be working on all those secret projects I can't show you. So thank you for watching. I hope you liked what you saw. I would love your feedback. If you're making costumes this Halloween, or if you just love making garments, especially if you've worked with velvet. I have not had to cut a pattern out of velvet. I've worked with lots of velvet, but usually it's alterations. So this will be the first time I cut with velvet in maybe 10 years. So I know I have to watch my nap. I know much of what I have to do, but I'm also nervous. I wish I still had a Joann's because I could probably get cheap velvet, but now I'm gonna have to go to the nice store and get nice velvet. Hopefully they're having a sale. Cross your fingers for me that I can find red velvet, probably poly velvet, not a cotton velvet, not a silk velvet, you know, just something a little less expensive, but the right color, because I'm going to need at least, well, if it's a 45-inch width, I think it's usually 60 inches for velvet. But if it is the narrow width that this was, I'm going to need at least 2 yards. So cross your fingers for me. Any tips, tricks, and hints that you want to pass on, go for it, because I'm not cutting it out today, so I've got time to read those comments. Have a great day. Remember to take care of yourself. Do something for yourself, because when you do something for yourself, like I made that witch's hat for myself, it made me feel better. I made that Halloween bag for myself. It made me feel better. And now I have this energy to do something for my son because I already feel like my cup is full. Now, yes, that's just within my family, and I'm also doing things for other people outside of my family. But in this example, I took a little time this week to treat myself to things that were frivolous, like a witch's hat and a Halloween bag. But they filled my cup and they brought me joy. And now I'm in a better place. And it's going to be easier to now tackle this thing for my son. I'm not going in with bitterness. I'm not going in with resentment. I'm not going in with hard feelings. I'm going in with joy. And that means a lot. So take care of yourself. Take care of others. Be the helpers. Bye.